back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Straight Shooting Sports Talk, and I'm your host, Dujane Bland. We thank you for tuning in. We got a lot to get into as the NFC and AFC Championship Games are now done, and we do have our Super Bowl teams, and we know the matchup. And we'll get into that. But first and foremost, we're going to get into talking about the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins, as Redskins fans know, were in the market to find an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator, as they fired their defensive coordinator, sent him packing, and rightfully so. And as their offensive coordinator, worked hard enough to get himself a coaching job with the Los Angeles Rams. Many thought that as the season was coming to a close, that it would be a possibility that they could land a guy like Wade Phillips, a guy like Romeo Crennel, someone maybe even a Rex Ryan. And two of those did not even want to even consider coming to the Washington Redskins. Some due to personnel. Now, you can call this an interview process if you want to, but it doesn't seem to me that the Washington Redskins even, I'd say, tried to do due diligence by any means. I wouldn't even call it an interview process. I mean, I really wouldn't. I think their minds were pretty much made up here. And that's okay. That's okay, but we've kind of seen how this promoting from within works out. And 9 times out of 10, it does not. It's been said that defensive coaches did not want to come here because they feel that Jay may possibly not be here in 2018. Possibly. So they may feel that he's a lame duck coach. With that being said, the Washington Redskins announced today that they promoted from within. Matt Cavanaugh, who was the quarterback's coach, is now the offensive coordinator. We have the outside linebackers coach, Greg Meninsky. He is now the defensive coordinator. Chad Elmhart, he is the head strength and conditioning coach. They have a Kevin Lantham as the assistant strength and conditioning coach, and Kevin O'Connell as their quarterback's coach. Jim Tomsula, that name sounds familiar. He was the coach for the San Francisco 49ers. He did not and was not in the NFL last season. Will be the defensive lines coach. You look at the history of some of these guys, and they've spent a lot of work. They have done a considerable amount of work in this league. Between Cavanaugh and Meninsky, both of these guys combined 61 years in the NFL. So they have some experience. Is it a matter of a comfortability thing for the Redskins and why they chose them? Possibly. Many wonder if Meninsky has ever been a defensive coordinator, and he was. Indianapolis Colts 2012 through 2015. He was the Chargers defensive coordinator in 2011. He was also the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers from 2007 to 2010. So he has had 3 defensive coordinator jobs and has been with the Washington Redskins before in 1988, 1990 as a linebackers coach as well, also in 2001 as a linebackers coach. So he does have experience. He has been a defensive coordinator before. Matt Cavanaugh, on the other hand, he has been more than just a quarterback's coach, obviously. He was the quarterback's coach for the Washington Redskins 2015-2016 season. He was the Bears quarterback coach. Also, the Jets. He was offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 205 and 08 through 08 there. And he was a offensive coordinator 3 times in his career. From about 1997 to 08, offensive coordinator, and served as the quarterback's coach as well for the Pittsburgh Steelers during that time. So he does have experience, has done this before. And what do I think of these moves? Well, this is going to be remained to be seen. And reason why I say this is, look, this is a team that fans expect to next year be able to make the playoffs. Did they have all the tools and pieces to make the playoffs this year? Absolutely. They missed some opportunities. But we all know that defensively they did not have a plethora of talent on that team to generate consistent pass rush. Linebackers can't keep up with different, covering tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. They're not as athletic, but the guys get it done. Obviously, there were some injuries there, and you have to look at the fact that Breland did not play as he did a year ago. So there's some pieces that have to be brought in, and then expect McCloughan to do just that. I'm gonna say take a wait and see approach though. So all you can do. I think that there's some bigger moves that should have been done. One positive though is your offensive line coach is not your offensive coordinator. That's the last thing you would have wanted. Not very successful, very lethargic offense, and I think Dallas Cowboys fans can relate to that when he was their offensive coordinator. Well, enough of that, and on to our NFC Championship game. That was going to look like it was going to be something special when we looked at the matchup initially. The way the Packers put away the Dallas Cowboys in that fashion, even though they did come back, was phenomenal. They had been on quite a roll, but so did the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I know a lot of individuals are talking about how the Falcons got there, their schedule, etc., and many thought that it would be a tough road for them playing the Packers a second time. Well, they closed out the Georgia Dome in a spectacular fashion, holding the Green Bay Packers scoreless in the first half. It was a 24-0 ball game. And this brings me to my point of Joe Buck, and with anything, whether it's weather, whatever. Look, man, don't come out here and give me this crap about travel plans. Travel plans? Really? I mean, because travel plans really don't have anything to do with you getting your butt shellacked 24-0 in the first half. They were out of the game before it ever even started. Now, I understand this team suffered some injuries, and they suffered like 4 or 5 more injuries during the game. One immediately, as soon as the game started, on the kickoff. But the fact of the matter is, Green Bay's defense, not very good in the secondary. And I hear a lot of talk about Clay Matthews. I'm not impressed. Have never been impressed. I think he's overrated. My personal opinion, I just think he's overrated. The secondary did not play up to par, and granted, they did suffer a few injuries, but come on. They haven't produced and haven't done anything. What they were able to do against the Dallas Cowboys was something special in the sense that they got up on them early. And I made it clear that if the Falcons were able to get up on them early, there's no turning back. There's no comeback. There's no turning back. It will be lights out. And it was. Matt Ryan finishes the day. We can call him Matty Ice now. 392 and 4 touchdowns. 392 yards and 4 touchdowns. Incredible. Incredible day. And really, when you look at Aaron Rodgers' numbers early in the game, they weren't that bad. He finishes the day 27 of 45, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. This just came, in Julio Jones, 12 receptions, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, what I didn't understand is for the Packers, they did a good job of playing a safety high and shading him to Julio's side, wherever he was. That way, it was kind of a bracket coverage. It was going to make it tough for Matt Ryan to throw it in between the windows of that corner and safety bracket. Get it? So forced him to throw somewhere else. Then all of a sudden, you decided that it was okay for you to go one-on-one with the great one. And he lit you up. It makes no sense to me. Who thought of that? Who thought that that was a great idea? And then just refused to change it? Either way, it was a massacre, 44-21. The Atlanta Falcons, for the second time in their history, franchise history, will be going to the Super Bowl 51, and they close out the Georgia Dome in fantastic fashion. Which brings us to our second game. I'm very disappointed in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I understand Tom Brady has to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in this era. And all time, man, that's tough. But maybe it's because I didn't really see a lot of the others. But Tom Brady has to be 1-2, somewhere around in there. Absolutely phenomenal. This guy's going to his 7th Super Bowl. And he has the potential to have 5 rings. 5. That's tough to do in football. Basketball, one thing. There's a lot of dynasties. There's a lot of great teams. You look at the Lakers, the Chicago Bulls. You look at the Spurs of our modern era and what they're doing as collectively going back and being able to put together championship runs. But football, it's super difficult, and it's even more difficult in this era where free agency can change the dynamic of your football team for the better or for the worse. And they continue to produce over and over again, time and time again. And I think it was said at the beginning of the season, Deflategate, yeah, that ticked them off. Wasn't a good idea. But I'm going to get to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I know it's not rocket science, but who decided that zone coverage against Tom Brady was a good idea? Now, if I want to get beat, I want to get beat giving my best. Because last week, the pressure that was applied by that Pittsburgh defense, they manned up. Granted, different quarterback in Alex Smith. But they manned up, were able to get pressure, was disruptive in the passing game, and really was a deciding factor in them winning last week. This week, we're playing zone, and basically Tom Brady's playing pitch and catch. Pitch and catch. Has anybody heard of Hogan until now? Anybody heard of that guy until now? Dude has Julio Jones type numbers. 12 receptions, or 12 targets, 9 receptions, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What? Now, I understand. The Pittsburgh Steelers secondary is not one of the greatest at all. Hasn't been that great all season. But if you want to get beat, and you're going to get beat, you at least want to go down giving your all. Manning up against these receivers that really, honestly, they're not like Julio Jones caliber. They're not a Dez Bryant. There's no guy that's you're concerned about taking the top off the defense. And try to get at Brady and not allow him to be comfortable back there taking pictures and being able to sign autographs and have a sandwich before throwing the ball. I mean, they were just making play after play after play, and it was pitch and catch. Keeping it in front of you, but letting them march right down the field and score. Embarrassing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that call on defense to play zone, terrible. Granted, would they have won? I doubt it. And I know Steelers fan is probably saying, well, we had Le'Veon Bell. Look, man, with that defense, you could have had 20 Le'Veon. You could have had 11 Le'Veon Bells out there, and y'all wouldn't have beat them like that because the Patriots were scoring. You couldn't stop them if you paid somebody. It was terrible. Which brings us to Super Bowl 51, Patriots, Falcons. And we got like 2 weeks to talk about this. I'm not giving my predictions. And I had some questions via Facebook about who I thought might win. And honestly, I gut feeling is the Falcons. You look at them offensively. But really, we have to take time and take a look at how things are, the numbers and how things will pan out. That's a young defense over there for the Atlanta Falcons, young secondary. And let's not forget, Belichick has 2 weeks to prepare for that defense. I know how well they've been doing in the playoffs. I get it. But he has 2 weeks to prepare for that defense, and they're going against the great Tom Brady. I know he don't have a whole lot of great wide receivers, but that dude is unbelievable. And Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick have 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So we'll see. We got 2 weeks to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. So stay locked in. With that being said, the Patriots haven't seen the likes of the Atlanta Falcons offense. So we'll see. But we appreciate you guys tuning in to another show. And again, if you want to get at us, you want us to talk about some things, whether it's about your team, the draft, who you should draft, where you should draft, what are your team needs, you can get at me 2 ways. Twitter at NotBland21. Or if you don't do the Twitter thing, you can get at us email-wise. That is straightshootingst@gmail.com. That's straightshootingst@gmail.com. And we'll talk about it on this show. We got a lot of time. A lot of time now, being that the season's wrapping up. We're going to have some interesting stuff this week, so stay tuned. Hopefully we're going to come to you from the Senior Bowl. I'll be out there covering that this weekend. So a lot of good stuff. Again, we thank you so much for tuning in. And this has been Straight Shooting Sports Talk.